evening, sports fans, and welcome to the All Balls Sports Show. Brought to you in part by True Love's Pizza and Grits at 1144 Riverside Drive. A discussion of any and all sports, local, regional, and national. And now, here are your hosts, Dan James, Eddie Bobo, Ty Cobb, and the coach, Vance Ballou.
Very pleasant good evening and welcome to the All the Ball Sports Show for this Tuesday evening, the 12th day of September. Glad to have everybody along and got our whole crew here. We've got Eddie Bobo and Chet Matlock and Vance Ballou and Ty Cobb and even the mayor of the city of Columbia, Dean Dickey, is with us tonight. Dean, how are you this evening?
Great to be here.
And our very special guest, we are so proud to have on somebody who I've looked up to for a long time as a coach, and I can't say mentor coach because I didn't play for you, but a pull for you a lot. Coach Johnny Majors, ladies and gentlemen, is with us.
Good evening, folks. We don't want to make this an hour or too long because Dean Dickey and I may want to go out and scrimmage each other again. It's been a long time since we've gone nose to nose, head to head. When he was at Campbellsville, and I was at Lynchburg and Huntland. So anyway, good to hear you folks.
And let's go back to that. Which one was the better player, Coach?
I can answer that.
Well,
right, John?
He's the mayor. I can't challenge him. I can't challenge him very much. I know the mayor very well, and I respect him. I know he's done a great job at Columbia, but I don't remember him playing. And he doesn't. As far as what position he played, I think he played in. But anyway, I think Campbellsville. We didn't win the one game my freshman year at Lynchburg, and my dad was driving back and forth from Lynchburg to Huntland to start the first team they had there. And he's going to coach football, basketball, baseball head coach, and he had one assistant, but they hadn't had any football at Huntland since the 1920s. And he go back and forth, and we only won one game at Lynchburg. So I imagine Campbellsville. I don't remember the game, but I remember several of them, and I remember the scores. The first game we played against Manchester. I was a starting T formation quarterback at age 14, weighed 135 pounds. And I did all the play calling, and punting, and passing, and we lost 58-0.
Wow.
Next week we went to Tullahoma and lost 75-6. And I don't remember what the Campbellsville score, but we couldn't have beaten them.
I remember that, Coach. I remember that very well. That was the only game we won that year. 7-0.
We were both bad, but I'll tell you, we beat one. We only won one game ourselves. We beat my dad's team, Huntland, over there 19-13. And I scored 2 of the 3 touchdowns. One on an intercepted pass, another one on a quarterback keeper as a T formation quarterback. And Daddy's team won 2, and I was 5. So the next year he moved us over to Huntland. And the week of my first game against Ardmore, Alabama, but we didn't lose. We didn't lose the one game my last 3 years. We lost to Lynchburg, my former home. They were undefeated, untied. We were 9-1. So we went 30-1. And then when I left, Joe and Bill and Larry, all 2 years apart, 2 of us played in the same backfield. They went 40-0-1. So my dad's teams won 70, lost 1 and tied 1. So we didn't lose to anybody but Lynchburg my senior year. So we had a pretty darn good football run at the time. But it was a great experience. And the mayor and I, we take what do you call it? Sawyers or what? Oh God!
The Duck River Valley Conference tour.
We take little trips back to Campbellsville and Linville and Cornersville and Chapel Hill, and we have some good times together. In fact, we made a trip this summer, so we may want to scrimmage as soon as we get through this program.
My understanding was that you went on a trip with Ty Cobb too, the fire chief of the city of Columbia, that he kind of took you around everywhere.
Oh yeah. He's a good driver. We went to see the countryside, and Linville's old field is still standing, but they've got no team. And the goalposts are rusted, but we had a good lunch there at the old log house restaurant. And that's not the name of it. And also, we passed by where we played at Campbell's. We played in the cow pasture at Campbellsville. And
Sure did.
It's still there. I don't remember if we saw any cows, but it's still there where we played.
Hey, Coach, you were a sophomore, and we came to Huntland to play. And believe it or not, I was a punter, and I punted 3 times in the first half, and you ran them all the way back, all 3 of them. So the coach told me, Floyd Smith said, we shouldn't even let you come in the dressing room. but if you do that the second half, you won't have a bus ride home.
Well, I apologize. As good a friends as we've become through the years, I apologize. If I'd have known that, I probably would have tried to run out of bounds on purpose.
Well, I enjoyed watching you.
Well, Johnny, after your high school days, you went on to a successful career there at University of Tennessee as a player, and you were runner-up to Heisman Trophy your senior year. And, the thing I find so ironic about that is Tennessee during the regular season that year went undefeated, and Notre Dame only won 2 games the whole year. And, I guess it goes to this thing that Tennessee must be cursed when it comes to a Heisman Trophy.
Okay, that year, the Heisman Trophy didn't begin until 1935. And Paul Horning and I were both born in 1935. And he was a senior at Notre Dame, and I was a senior at Tennessee. And you're right, they won 2 games and lost 8. And we won 10 and lost 9 the regular season. And it was the closest voting in history at that time. And I came in second, and he got almost 1,000 votes. He had 900 something. I had 900. I think I was only about 25 or 30 votes behind him, points that was. And he and I have kidded each other about it through the past. And so we've had a little fun. We don't probably have time to tell a couple of stories about the Heisman, but we've got I got a story or two about him also about saying he'd jump out of the press box when he's doing the play-by-play with Notre Dame games with Lindsey Nelson. If Tony Dorsett, if Tony Dorsett had 200 yards the year he was a senior, he had 305 yards when he was a junior and 3 long touchdowns. And Horning said if he'd had 200 yards or more in the 1976 game, we opened up the season at Notre Dame, and he was the main speaker at the prep rally the night before. And we beat him 31 to 10, and I took Tony out of the game with about 8 minutes to go, and he had 181 yards rushing. And so I told Horning one time, I said, Horning, you never ever appreciated. We were at the Kentucky Derby. I said, you never appreciated me enough. He said, what are you talking about? You so and so. I said, I saved your life one time. He said, what are you talking about? I said, when you said pep rally night before the game, that Dorsett at the time. Now Dorsett, if he had 200 yards, you'd jump out of the press box. I said, I took him out of the game with 8 minutes to go, and he had 181 yards. He said, yeah, you so and so. I remember you looking up the press box and smiling at me. We had some fun, but it was disappointing. But I didn't get myself built up that I knew I was a cinch to win. My injuries knocked me out of 2 games that I didn't play in. So I guess I was pretty fortunate for this second. He was a great player, and I never have had any resentment toward it, but it was a tough loss.
Yeah.
1976, of course, you national title winner, went 12-0 that year, and had to be a big time for you, Coach.
Well, certainly that was the greatest team I ever coached, and we had everything. We recruited well when I took the job, and Dorsett we recruited right off the bat. He's the first place person I met after the press conference. I went down to see him and visit with him and his teammate Ed Willimowski, and I'll probably see them this coming weekend. I'm going to Pitt for the Oklahoma State game, and we get together. A lot of us do that every year. So anyway, recruited Tony, and we recruited 73 players total, and we had 18 of those first-year freshmen on our travel squad when we opened the season at Athens, Georgia, and they beat us. We tied 7-7, and we missed a field goal in the last 3 minutes from the 23-yard line. So we went on to a 6-3-1 record. They hadn't been to a bowl game in 17 years. So we built gradually 6-3-1 and went to a bowl game, and went 7-4 the next year. Didn't get a bowl bid. There weren't many bowl games at those times. And also the next year we went and beat Kansas in the Sun Bowl, and had all our players back. We didn't lose anybody. And of course we went 12-0 and beat Georgia 27-3 in the Sugar Bowl. So that was one of the greatest teams of all time. It's been picked in the top 10 by many polls, which is pretty hard to do objectively. But we didn't have a single weakness on this squad.
How was it to beat Vince Dooley?
That was what?
How was it to beat Vince Dooley? How did that feel when you beat Georgia?
Well, it felt awfully good. I never had a victory that didn't feel good to me.
They all feel good.
We had good success against Georgia. When we tied 7-7, we were 19-point underdogs in my first game at Pitt, and we tied 7-7. It's the first time I ever heard a team booed in my whole life. And they booed the Georgia team at Athens between the hedges, because we were, the game as the game went along, we were getting stronger than they were, and they were playing in their backyard and very hot, but we were a great condition team. And I've had friends of mine tell me that the beating Penn State my last year and beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl to win the national championship, the favorite game of all was the first game we coached against Georgia. That had never seen such a transition of what they'd been looking at for 17 straight years. So we turned them around, and it was a great experience. And I'm heading to Pittsburgh Thursday to see the game and see a lot of my former players. So that was one great team, and we worked hard to put it together, and I had a good staff, of course. And Pittsburgh was the easiest place I ever moved to and the hardest place to leave. I never liked leaving home, and I never liked leaving the place I left when I was coaching. But I always left because I thought it was a better opportunity, except when I was forced out of Tennessee when I was let go by a president and a line athletic director and a disloyal coach.
All right, Coach. You were inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1987. What was that feeling like?
Well, I was very, very, very thrilled, of course, because that's something that we all wish for. And I'd say one of our dreams of our competition. And I had a lot of help, but I had a great coach, and my father who taught us how to kick the ball and how to hold it and how to run. He was a great athlete. And unfortunately, I and my four younger brothers were all very athletic, and we could all punt, we could all pass, and we could all run, and we all had speed, and we all five played college ball. So that was a great honor, and again, I had a lot of help. I had some good teammates in high school and some good teammates in college that threw a lot of good blocks for me, opened some holes for me, and I had a great desire to excel. I hit the ground running when I was born. My mother and daddy said they wondered when I was outside playing, and the little boy when I was 2 and 3 and 4 years old, my face would get real red playing with little cars on the front yard in the dirt. And then my grandmother said, Elizabeth, that's my mother. Elizabeth, John's going to die if you're not careful. So he just red in the face. He's red in the face. So everything I ever did was rolling cars on the dirt, or shooting marbles, or playing tennis or golf as an adult, and playing high school football and basketball and running track at UT. We didn't have a track at Lynchburg or Hutland, of course. But I went out to do the best I could, and I never had to be told that I shouldn't loaf, because I wanted to win so badly. And as always, I was highly driven. My mother and dad were both very competitive, and they were loving parents, and they were disciplined. We were disciplined. We were not spoiled, and we were taught to be respectful of your elders, and also to show how much you appreciated your teammates when you did well. And I always gave credit to our team when I was a coach. When they won, it wasn't my team, it was our team. And I also gave credit to my teammates, because I had a lot of help and had some great teammates. So I've been very fortunate in my life. I've had a few bad breaks. One is the University of Tennessee, which was rotten, but I won't get into that today. It was a rotten way to be let go. After having the three best years of my entire life back-to-back in 89, 90, and 91, and I was let go the next year because of disloyalty and dishonesty.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach. University of Tennessee is off to a 2-0 start. Probably pulled victory from the jaws of defeat on that first game. Obviously playing a lesser opponent on the second game. From what you've seen so far, what do you think of the current year, or what kind of predictions do you have?
Well, I never was really good at cards. I love playing cards, but my brothers Joe and Bill, the next two younger than me, could beat me most of the time at hearts and rook and hearts. Okay, so they were better card players than I was, and better mathematician in math. They were better math students than I was, but we all did well in the reading subjects, geography and history, but they were good in math also. But your question, about UT. I've told people, I said, I never did too well in gambling. I haven't thrown a dice, and I haven't played a card in a casino in probably 15, 20 years, but I would in the past, and never won very much, maybe 10% of the time. And I enjoyed shooting some craps, but I haven't done it in years and years. But I said, and there's three things, but if people ask me, I tell them you can't afford to bet on them, in my opinion, if you want my advice. Number one, you have no idea what that fool dictator in North Korea will do. He might pull the button any time on the bomb, and you can't tell what that narcissistic fool and egotistical idiot we have in Washington, D.C. is supposed to be a president, but he's the farthest thing from a president. And number three, you can't bet on Tennessee because you don't know what you don't know that there's nothing established yet. And we were very fortunate to beat Georgia Tech. Those two fumble recoveries we got. If we didn't get those two, they're going to beat us 2 or 3 touchdowns. So our defense is still a huge question mark. Nobody knows what they're going to do.
I definitely agree with you, Coach. I definitely agree with you.
I think the quarterbacks are going to be probably pretty good. And Norman has overthrown about 3 touchdown passes, but he's done some good work. And I think the offensive line has a chance to be good, but it's not overly proven yet, in my opinion. And we were dominated by Georgia Tech on both sides of the scrimmage, no question about it. And was letting people make the yardage they did in that game, 530 or 40 yards rushing alone, I should say, and what Kentucky and Missouri and Vanderbilt did last year,
right,
over 600 yards. There's a big question mark there. I don't know what they're going to do, but Florida's got probably a subpar quarterback and a subpar offense, so we ought to have a good chance against Florida, in my opinion.
Hey, Coach, one good story that I remember, the general come out looking for a 165-pound tailback, And when he saw you, he said he won't weigh over 145 pounds. You want to tell the group about that?
Well, I really weighed about 150 my senior year in high school. And I said I weighed 155. That made me sound bigger. And, but I had speed, and I could throw a spiral, complete passes, and I could punt. So I'm what you call an endangered species. A triple threader. They don't make them anymore. Run, pass, and punt. And run, pass, and punt. No, your question was one more time, real quickly.
The general.
Yeah, general. Oh yeah, well, and when my dad and I flagged down a bus going to see Tennessee play Kentucky, and the general needed his last game as a coach here in Neyland Stadium, which at that time was not Neyland. It was Watkins Field. So Mother took us out before daylight, and Daddy had a old 39 Plymouth. My dad and his mother took us out before daylight. We flagged down an express bus going from Memphis to Chattanooga. Huntland is 2 miles below Highway 64, which goes from Memphis to Chattanooga. We flagged it down, and we got to Chattanooga. We took another express from Chattanooga to Knoxville and missed the first play. And Ray, the fullback, ran 66 yards for Tennessee and scored first play. Coach Barry Bryant was the head coach of Kentucky. He had some good teams when he was there in 50, 51, 52, and they tied Tennessee 14-14. It had snowed the night before, 4, 5, 6 inches, but they got the thing off. Didn't get it all off, but they got enough where people could sit down. And 14-14 tie, and Kentucky rode Barry Bryant off on their shoulders because they never had beaten Neyland, and they only tied it, but that was a big thing for them. And the next morning, my dad and I went in to meet the general. Farmer Johnson was on his first 2 teams in 26 and 27, and he took us in to meet the general. And the general stood up, and he was eating in the back of the training table there where the people cooked. A big, fine-looking man, and stood up, and he said, hello, Mr. Majors, or coach, or whatever he called my dad. And he says, hello, John. And he said, how much do you weigh? And Farmer Johnson was pretty shrewd. He'd been prepared for this. And I'm looking back on it. Before I could say 155, sir, Farmer Johnson stood up. When the general said, how much do you weigh, Majors? Or how much do you weigh, John? So Farmer Johnson said, 175, General. So that's 25 pounds. 25 pounds more than I weighed. So I played 3 years later. We played Georgia Tech here my junior year in 1955, and I played 60 minutes. I weighed 162. And I played 60 minutes. We tied them 7-7, and I threw a touchdown pass to Bill Anderson, and we kicked the extra point. They won the championship and beat Pittsburgh in the Sugar Bowl 14-7. So, and that 7-7 tie, in 55, I was the last one out of the locker room. Played 60 minutes, returned punts, returned kickoffs, played full-time on defense, never left the game. I weighed 162 that season, and the general came in, and I was the last one out of the shower. I was drying off. My brother Joe was up here visiting. He was a freshman at Alabama and ended up at Florida State. And so the general came in walking along with his suit, 3-piece suit and vest and tie and coat, and also had a dress hat on. And he said, Majors, get on the scales. We had these big scales where you stood on them. Had a big face on it, and the big hand went around, and the general says, 147. I knew Farmer was lying to me. He remembered what Farmer Johnson had told him I weighed 175 3 years earlier in November, and this was 3 years later in November.
Wow.
That shows you how smart he was. But he was smart, and I had questions of whether I could play in a big-time football, but I was recruited by a lot of schools, and even as far away as Wyoming and the University of Arkansas, and Virginia Tech, and West Point, and Florida, and Georgia, and Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. So anyway, I was concerned about playing, but my dad told me, and I trusted my dad 100%. He says, John, he knew I was worried and concerned about playing big-time football, but I came close to going to Auburn because they had a small stadium, 28,000, and Tennessee had one that held 50,000. I liked the big stadium, but I felt at home at Auburn because Huntland and Lynchburg had no movie houses. We had a pool room, and I played a lot of pool. And so at the last point, Daddy said, John, the way you can run the football and punt it and throw it, and the way you can play defense and the way you can run the football, you can play anywhere. So I trusted my dad 100%, but I didn't trust myself. So I was concerned about the first scrimmage. I was running the first team for the B team. We call it the T team. Freshmen weren't eligible to play, so we worked all week. Had a big scrimmage on the first Saturday of September. So I'm getting knocked around. I'm running quarterback. I'm playing Jackie Parker's position. We opened up with Mississippi State here, first game of the season, and I'm playing Jackie Parker's position. I'm getting knocked around and not making any gains. But next thing you know, I make a yard. I made about a 10-yard run and a 15-yard run, and two or three people missed me. But then the next thing you know, after about a half an hour, I broke to a couple of runs and went about 25 or 30 yards, and had 4 or 5 people miss me, and I sidestepped them, stiff-armed them, and got tackled short of the touchdown. And the general yelled from the stands, "Who is number 12? Farmer Johnson, who recruited me, says, he was defensive line coach, says, "That's Majors from Huntington, sir." Well, I didn't think anything about it. Boy, I didn't pat myself on the back. So, oh, boy, I was the general. I got back to huddle because I'm getting ready to get the next play and run it. As soon as that scrimmage is over, I'm standing up. I'm healthy. I was 18 years old. I weighed 144 when I went to the scales that day, 144. I ran all the way up to the corner drugstore and called my dad to collect. And I'm sure one of the happiest moments of him and my mother's life because they were concerned about my worrying about whether I could make it or not. And I called Daddy, and both of them, Mother and Daddy, got on the phone together. I said, "Daddy, they missed tackles in college just like we did in high school." I couldn't play after scoring. I couldn't believe that after scoring 4 and 5 touchdowns a game against the DRVC people in Linville, Cornersville, Campbellsville, that they would miss the Huntland Hornet, but they did. By God, so it worked out. And I stayed. I kept my scholarship.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and to say that you've had a long, storied career would be an understatement, and much success that you've had over the years. And we're sitting here looking at all the statistics that we could go over, but anybody who knows anything about Coach Johnny Majors knows what a success you have been, and we appreciate you being on our show.
Well, I appreciate it very much, and I've had a tremendous amount of help and a tremendous amount of support ever since I was born. And the people of Lynchburg and Huntland, and I've had great friends like our honorable mayor, and we've had a great friendship, and we plan to keep on keeping on for a long time.
And I tell you what, Coach, I would pay good money today to watch you line up against the mayor of Columbia right now.
Okay, next time we get out there, we'll go out there and we'll dress it up and we'll take bets. Okay,
we'll take you out to Lindsey Nelson Stadium here and let you guys suit up for one last time. How about that?
My money's on Johnny.
Good. All right.
I'll agree with you. John, we'll talk later. Appreciate you doing this for the group, and they're a good bunch of guys. And so you're always welcome in Murray County and the city of Columbia.
Thank you. I look forward to coming back.
All right, sir. We thank you.
City. That's a great city. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See ya. That was fun. Coach Johnny Majors. To say he's a legend would be an understatement.
Absolutely. Still very well thought of in all the coaching circles, player circles, whatever. Football circles, everybody has a special place for Johnny Majors.
Well, he definitely come from a football family. And just, kind of like that Blue Bunch. I don't know.
Coach, one Saturday morning, I was in Pittsburgh on the second time he went up there. And I just walked outside. He was doing something. And walked outside, and I looked down to my left, maybe, I don't know, 100 yards, 120 yards. And I thought, that's Jim Cartwright. I said, there's no way Jim Cartwright could be up here in Pittsburgh same time I am, this kind of stuff. So I just started walking down there, and he walked in. But it was Jim. It sure was. And he was going to some game in Philadelphia or somewhere and just stopped by to visit with John. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it is.
Hey, I want to thank Kathy and Glenn Truelove, who are the sponsors of the All the Ball Sports Show, for a delicious pizza we will be enjoying after the show. Being cooked up by the pizza chick, Carol and Jane. She's in there doing her thing with the pizzas on about right now. Yep. So it'll be all good and fresh. But Kathy and Glenn do a lot for us. They also do the Thursday night preview from Truelove's for the Columbia Central High Lions and football team and the Gridiron, and we appreciate that. I got something I want to bring up. I want to ask the group about this. I brought this up last year, but I wasn't.
Spit it out, Dan.
I didn't at that time really know how I felt about it, but after watching the Denver game last night with the Chargers, I have a real problem, guys, with women who are calling play-by-play on professional football.
That's somebody already mad at you.
Word travels fast.
No, I'm just asking. I'm just throwing that out.
Well,
who's going to jump in the fire with Dan tonight?
They got
Absolutely
eyes too.
No one is going to.
They can see.
I'll give my opinion.
Okay.
It doesn't really bother me, but I kind of have maybe a different point of view. I mean, I just want to know information from the announcers. I don't want them to tell me what's happening or what should happen or what coaches should do or anything like that. I want to know the information. I want to know the stories about the players and the coaches and who all's involved. And I think there's a lot of broadcasters that do really well at that, and some women do a great job with telling the stories. But that's just my humble opinion.
Well, but your opinion counts. See, I like the way that Eddie calls a game because he describes what's happening with the play-by-play and who's under center and doing all this other kind of stuff and about the players involved. When he was calling Columbia Central Lions when we won the state championship, or did the runner-up and then won the state championship, I know that you've gone back and listened to those games. Paula has said countless number of times because we put them on CD for you, and you've gone back and listened to them just because the way I know it's because of the way he called the game, because he described all the events going on. But I guess I'm just not used to not having a male figure calling the game. And I know, ladies, I'm sorry. There are great lady broadcasters out there. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just not ready for that yet.
I'm good with it. I'm good with women officials.
No, I have no problem
regardless
with that.
if they make the wrong call, I'm going to be mad, whether they're male or female.
Well, you're going to get mad at the wrong call anyway.
But I'm also for every player and everybody standing for the national anthem.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's more important to me than the women.
My thing about the players sitting during the national anthem, if you're going to sit through that, just sit through the whole game.
I can't believe that's even discussed.
That's a given.
I mean, you have a right to protest, but I think the
Chip,
coaches,
we're gonna put you over at the end down there. Where we got an
the
extra
coaches and
margin.
everything ought to have
Jump over.
enough to them to say, hey, look, right is right and wrong is wrong, and if you're gonna sit, well, you just continue sitting, and during the game, and I don't care how good of a player you are.
There you go.
But that's just my opinion.
Since he's got a mic, ask Chip Matlock what he thinks.
Well, Chip can jump in anytime.
I'm just putting him on the spot. I like doing that to my buddy.
You're good about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like what you've talked about. I don't want to hear especially a high school game. Local high school should be describe what's going on the field at the time, not second guessing the coaches or trying to get technical of what kind of defense we're running and getting into all of that.
Well, the bottom line on that.
And then going through the coaches show play by play.
Right.
The next day, I want to hear from the kids
Right.
who actually participated in the game.
Right.
Spend 15 minutes, blow through the game, and then give 30 minutes to the kids, because I want to hear what they saw, what they went through, what they're feeling, and that's what we were really good at. Right. I mean, I'm going to pat ourselves on the back. We were really good at getting those kids where the community got to know who they were and what. And, and as you progress into college, it's the same thing. And I'm like you, Vance. You just, give me the information. Mm-hmm. Now, Tony Romo made his debut in Nashville. And I thought he did a real good job.
With Jim Nance.
With
he
Jim
could not
Nance.
have had a better broadcast partner.
They went straight to the number one, and everybody's scratching their heads while they were number one. He was really good.
He did good.
He was really good. And so, CBS actually knew kind of what they were doing there. But,
I also say that doing a broadcast live has got to be a lot more difficult over the radio than television. And Eddie and all you guys have always done a great job in explaining what's happening on the field. Watching a TV broadcast on a national level, my biggest issue is not women or if they coached or not. They come up with these storylines ahead of time. That this team blitzes a whole lot, and then they want to stick with it through, to make their prediction true, and they're explaining something that didn't even really happen.
Right.
I'm thinking, no, that's not what happened. That's just what you were talking about when the game kicked off. I want the real story, not something made up. But I think as a whole, high school broadcasters over the radio are the best group of broadcasters around.
Well, when I did the games, my whole mindset was over 90% of the people, if you try to get technical talking out there, they're not going to understand what you're saying anyway. And, my thing is the people that are sitting at home listening to the game, if you just describe on what's happening, they'll have a better sense to picture it in their mind what's going on, and in my opinion, made it more enjoyable.
Well, so. we were raised listening.
We
didn't have Tennessee on TV every weekend.
No.
And luckily we had a great play-by-play guy who, you could see the ball game, and
maybe 2 minutes behind what happened.
Well, but back through then on high school.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I enjoyed years ago when I worked for Red Food and I was over in Lewisburg, coming home on Friday night, I could pick up the Chapel Hill broadcast, and it was great. Those guys were absolutely fabulous in calling the game. I mean, it was country. And it was countrified, and it was everything. But it was great because you could see what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
You could see it.
Right.
And that's just like football, baseball. We grew up listening to the radio. These kids today and people today have no idea what it was like.
Well, I will give him a shout out because he not only started my broadcast career in 1971, November of 1971, but one of the best sportscasters that I remember growing up, and Dean will remember this too, during the period of time, was Jim Kerrigan at WKRM. Mm-hmm. He was one of the best football and basketball play-by-play guys that was out there.
Yep.
And I appreciated the fact that he took this this fat little 12th grader from Columbia Central and gave him a shot at working in radio starting in November of 1971. And I spent, almost an entire career there. So, or not there, but a career in broadcasting, which I appreciate to this day. Because I have, as I've said to a lot of people, I've met some fantastic folks along the way. That was my first time to meet Johnny Majors, but I met him by phone. But we've been in contact with each other for how long, Dean? 3 weeks?
Two of those are trying to get him to return his call.
Yeah, it's true.
One of them, the call just went dead on. But
yeah, that was true. But I think it was because of where we were at.
Right.
Are we on here?
Yes, we are. Yes, sir.
Yes, we are. We're still on air.
1971.
1971.
Wow, you have met a lot of people.
Yes. And you were born when?
You didn't meet me in 71. I wasn't born until 1978.
There you go. See? So there
Oh,
you go.
Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was thinking we were in the same category, but we're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I balance out the age group on this show. So,
But
It's good.
but there will always be a special place, small heart for Jim Kerrigan. And
did Jim cover just Central Athletics?
He
or?
did.
Okay.
He did. He covered Central basketball and football, and was the program director at KRM at that time. And it was alone by itself. It did not have an FM at that time. It was
Gotcha.
WYFY FM. That was up on the hill that belonged to. Now my age is catching up. I can't remember right offhand.
But in those days, everybody listened by radio, like Chip's
They
talking
did.
about, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
That's where you got your information. That's where you got.
That's kind of how the Vol Radio Network,
Well,
with
and it
the
did.
Vol Call and
Yeah.
other shows.
I remember listening to Dizzy Dean do the St. Louis ball games.
Yep.
He'd have been safe if he'd have slid.
I'm ready to talk about Central High School 4-0.
We are tickled about Central High School
Wow.
4-0,
What
but
a turnaround.
the real test comes this Friday night against Summit.
yeah, it does. We're going to have our hands full. They're a good team. I think there's 3-1, I believe. Is that
Right.
They
I want
Had
to
a
say they
close
lost to
loss.
Smyrna.
no, they lost to Spring Hill.
Was it
That's
Spring Hill?
was the first
Wow.
game. First game
Yeah.
they lost to Spring Hill.
You got Spring Hill
close game.
on the 22nd,
Yes,
right?
Spring
Right.
Hill's next at
Right.
home after this week. So it's a big challenge for us this week that I know Coach Hoth and all the players are focused on. We had a rating this week, fourth place team in 5A came out this week, which may or may not help you. Who knows? It certainly doesn't put any points on the board.
Definitely
I would
draw-
rather like
So
Bisbee
hopefully-
like in
It definitely
2009
draws a
and
target
10,
on it.
where in
But-
2009 and 10 we were under the radar.
Yeah.
We really were.
But hopefully people keep that in perspective.
Yeah,
That's a few
exactly.
guys around the state's opinion. Nobody has seen all the teams play, so you can't really.
I guess my question for y'all is, would you say Summit and Spring Hill is the test for the next 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah,
as far as the
definitely.
toughest game.
Yes.
Is-
Definitely.
Definitely to this point, I don't know that much about the opponents past that, and I know our coaches are not concentrating anywhere past that either. But definitely the two toughest that we've faced so
Gotcha.
far this season, no doubt. So a big challenge for our kids, but they're excited. They're working hard and out there in the rain today. So they're focused on doing what they got to do.
Yeah.
Well, the rain helped us in one of the games because we had the rain conditions against Lincoln County,
Right.
and they practiced under rain conditions with a wet ball the whole week, and that did turn that game around, I think.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Sometimes you get the option of going inside, but you can't overdo that. I mean, you won't be ready
Right.
to face it when you actually have to play in it. And of course, Jason's done a good job in exposing our players to all the elements that they're going to be exposed to the best that somebody can. And one of the reasons why we're 4-0.
I just don't think we need to invest in a snow machine, though.
No, a few other things we need to buy first, probably. But one of the exciting things about our team is we've got so much speed. We've got three or four guys that are.
You got T.J. Bailey,
yes.
who can hit the corner, and I mean, once he hits the corner, he's gone.
Yep.
You got Darian Davis, quarterback, who is mobile a quarterback as I've seen anywhere, and got a good arm.
Austin Woodson.
Austin Woodson.
Yep.
And you ought to see his. Have you seen his little brother play?
Yes.
Roman.
Yes,
Oh gosh.
Need to bring Roman up now.
He was a standout in the freshman JV game.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Yep. And then we've got three running backs that kind of share the load back there. So I feel like knowing what I know now, which is not a whole lot, obviously, about our future team, we've got a chance to match up speed wise with a lot of people. Maybe we've got a shot at being the fastest team on the field through the season. I don't know. That's what we'll have to see. We're in that category at least. That gives us a chance. And our defensive line is athletic, and that is a huge turnaround too. I think we're getting the big plays in bigger bunches this year offensively. We've taken care of the ball for the most part. But our offensive line's done a great job blocking, but our defensive line may be the area that we're the most improved in. We just really, most of the time, have been a force for the other team to recognize.
I think our defensive kids want to go get the ball.
Yeah,
they don't want it to come to them. They want to go get it.
Well, I wish they would tell that to the Tennessee defense.
Which Tennessee defense, Titans or UT?
Both. But anyway, Coach, we had a player go down Friday night. Do you have any word on his condition?
That's still being evaluated. He goes back, I was told, Friday to get some more.
It was a knee, right?
Was a knee, yeah.
Okay.
We don't know the extent of the injury yet.
Yeah, I knew they worked on him quite a while on the sidelines and all. So, but.
Well, let's talk about those Titans for a second.
Wow.
I
wasn't shocked.
Well, here's the thing. I think we are all victims of the hype. You've got these great players coming. It's going to be a new team. John Robinson is this master genius who's going to bring all these folks in, and the Titans are going to be what they haven't been before. The only thing I see is 3rd and 8. Every time they get the ball, it's 3rd and 8, and they end up with 3rd and 8. And when you do that, then you're going to get a Marshawn Lynch, who's going to be for the other team, who's going to just walk down the field on top of you and knock over Jarrell Casey at one point, who's 308
Shows
pounds.
you what that year off would do for you in the NFL.
Oh, but I have breaking news. This comes from Sean Wagner McGaw. You have to give him credit. If you missed Marshawn Lynch during the season away from the NFL, you're in luck. Beast Mode isn't just back on the field for the Oakland Raiders. He's also set to have his own reality show on Facebook. It's going to run 10 to 15 minutes per episode, and it's going to be on Facebook Live. And they stand to make millions of dollars from it.
This is for Lynch?
Yes. Just saying. The only downside for viewers, Facebook might censor Lynch's use of profanities. It wouldn't be shocked if that ends up being censored, according to the Bleacher Report, Rory Brown.
Well, he is a good running back. The Raiders are a very solid, good team, and I can see them making a long run in the playoffs. But the Titans are a good football team. They're just not better than the Raiders.
But let me ask you this. When it's 3rd and 2 and you're going for a touchdown, why do you not put in number 22 to run the ball? Derrick Henry. Why is he there? Why is he on the team? Why does he not play? Why do you depend on DeMarco Murray?
They got to run the ball more. They got a lot of stock in the running backs.
I'm tossing them out there. Somebody hit something back.
I think I know I saw where the Titans coaching staff and Sylvester Croom, who was the head coach at the University of Mississippi State, is I think the running backs coach for the Tennessee Titans. But they said they were going to run the ball more. That's something that they did mess up.
But don't run it with DeMarco Murray. He's not that good.
I disagree. I think he's a good running back, but I do agree with you. Henry on 3rd and 2. Of course, the Raiders line up on the line where the Tennessee balls are about a foot off the ball.
But we're not talking balls here. We're talking Derrick Henry, former Alabama player, with the Alabama cheering section sitting right next to you.
Well, Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs. He's one of the best running backs I've ever saw, solid wise.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and I think he's a good running back.
But why not use him more?
I think they will.
He's very underutilized, I should say.
He has been ever since. For the 2 years he's been with the Titans,
Right.
I think. But they've got a little more money, I think, invested in DeMarco Murray. And I disagree with you, Dan. I think Murray is a good running back. I think he is quick and dicey, but I don't think the Titans showed any type of run game Sunday.
I don't think they showed much of anything Sunday. I mean, who?
But that has been the norm.
It's true. But who does an onside kick for?
That didn't bother me really. I mean, first of the season, I don't know how Coach feels about it, but if he makes it, everybody's like, wow, and the crowd's into it.
You're a hero.
But
if
that's
you
NFL
don't,
for
then
you.
You're a goat.
That's the NFL. And I think Tony Romo addressed it that way. If the Titans are successful, it's thumbs up, awesome, because there's been, 2 onside kicks in the last, I don't know what the stat was, but 15 years. So I'm talking about at the start of the game.
Well, let's switch gears.
So it should have surprised somebody.
Yeah.
Evidently it didn't.
And it didn't get the bounce. It went right into him instead of bouncing up. So.
Well, let's switch gears for a second there. The early game last night, Minnesota and the Saints, they got Peterson, who used to be a Viking, and they used him for 4 running plays to start the game, and then he didn't hardly see the field again, and they're paying him pretty good money to be there and stuff, and I don't know. I believe if I was him, if somebody else out there needed a running back, I'd be holding my hand up.
But 16 games in the NFL, that's a long season, is it not, Coach?
It is.
I mean, 16 games. How many running backs can run every weekend? You have got to be in tip-top shape, and then injuries.
Well, last year's the first time he ever got hurt.
Mark Ingram isn't chopped liver.
No, he's not chopped liver.
And then they had Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
And they played all their backs.
Yeah, but they didn't play them all equally.
Well,
I'm no coach.
we haven't watched practice.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
I'm saying if Marshawn Lynch is running towards me, I'm laying down. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, that's what Jarrell Casey did. I mean, they made a big deal out of the fact that Marshawn Lynch laid Casey out. He did. And Casey's 308.
That is a big deal.
I mean, he's flat of his back. I mean, he looks like a tick. He's flat of his back and his hands are up.
But let's also face it, though. The Vikings were playing well above their level of play from last year, in my opinion.
And got a beautiful stadium.
Yes, they do. That's where the Super Bowl is going to be held, by the way. So,
yep.
You notice he's playing the politician, but Mayor hasn't said anything about any of this.
Yeah. And
he's playing the consummate politician.
Defensively, Vikings took it to him.
I'm still hung up with Ty.
And who knew Bradford could throw the ball so well?
Well, he still had his spots.
Yeah.
His career.
Well, it's just like the commentator said, when he's got time to throw, he's just as good a quarterback as anybody out there. And he proved it. I mean, time after time last night.
But we can talk all night, but the game I enjoyed the most was Ohio State and Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And even the planting of the flag.
Well, part of my favorite teams are, is Tennessee and whoever's playing Ohio State and
Alabama.
Most of the time Alabama, but
and you notice how far away from Coach he's sitting right now.
Well, but now I will say this though. When Alabama and Florida are playing, I'm an Alabama fan. When Alabama and Auburn playing, I'm an Alabama fan. But when they playing Tennessee, I'm a Tennessee fan. That's just the way I am.
It's fair enough.
And this week, ladies and gentlemen, if you look on your TV, he's a Columbia fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always
we
that.
got all kind of Columbia stuff hanging
Yes,
around
you
here.
do.
So,
It looks
yeah.
great in here.
Thank you.
I like all that stuff.
Yep. Matter of fact, that's Summit next week, and then Spring Hill the following week. So,
Yep.
and then we have a bye week
Yes.
on the 29th, I believe it is, or somewhere around there.
Yeah, 29th will be off.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be going into fall break.
So it's about that time to talk about predictions. I want a prediction on Tennessee and Florida Saturday. I think kickoff is 2:30 in Gainesville. Boy, I sure would love to sing for them to sing Rocky Top after that game at the middle.
Florida is a 5.5 point favorite.
I don't
Well,
care.
they
You're
were
probably
still
right.
evaluating the stadium and everything. Last I heard. So
No, they announced this afternoon
Did
that
they?
it's going to be played there.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to what Coach Majors said. There's three things you don't do, and one of them is you bet on Tennessee. But anyway,
Don't bet on Tennessee.
or don't bet on Tennessee. That's right. All right, I'll start off. If Tennessee plays up to its potential, then I think it's a 10-point game. I think Tennessee wins by 10.
Well, the part that bothers me is defense for Tennessee. Our secondary, they letting too many receivers get
Right.
past them. And, Georgia Tech picked us apart on deep ball. And, Indiana State had some pretty good passes against us. And they had a lot of them dropped that they should have completed. But, and offensive line is still a little suspect. And but now running back, I think we're solid at running back. Even with the injury to our main receiver, I think we're still okay in on our receiver core. And but if we play to our potential, and Florida still hasn't found their gear yet, yeah, we have opportunity to win it by 10.
Well, I think it's tough to go to Florida and win for anybody. So I think UT's got their hands full. But there's no way I could pick a team to win a game, a big game, that has struggled as much as Florida has offensively.
Mhm.
It's just hard to comprehend with all the talent that's in the state of Florida that they would struggle that bad. But they have. That's where they're at. I see Tennessee winning 10 or maybe more, especially if Florida doesn't look somewhat better offensively than what they have. They got to do something they haven't done in, I don't know, a year and a half maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't really been that successful ever since Tebow graduated.
Yeah, that's true.
My turn. Well, since you kept it short here and you didn't ask me about Tennessee defense, and I would have had the mic for about 30 minutes on this show, I'll keep it short. But I do want to say to Coach that Alabama has Colorado State coming to town, so that's not even worth talking about. Big win for Alabama this weekend. For Tennessee, if Tennessee's going to win the game, I think the offense this week will show out. Defense will decide if we've not fixed the defensive issues, then I think it could be a close game. But if Tennessee's offense shows up like I think it will, and it'll be better, and Dormandy and them will really connect, and he'll hit his passes that he's missed the last couple of weeks, I think Tennessee wins. But if we have not cleaned up defense, it's going to be a close game. But Tennessee can win.
Let me ask you this real quick. If the offense for Florida doesn't generate what they expect and makes Tennessee's defense look better,
Agree with that. I do.
then does it give them the false sense that they are better when they're not, but they're against a fledgling offense?
Well, what I've seen is that the way Tennessee lines up on the ball, and then Albert Haynesworth was having a field day just fussing about Tennessee's defense on social media the other day. But if Tennessee's defense is that bad, and it's still from Vanderbilt last year till this weekend, everybody in this room can run through the holes that are open because Tennessee can't close it up.
Well,
I think it will be a scoring contest because I do think Tennessee's offense will show out this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, they do line up about a yard off the ball.
It's proof. I got the pictures.
You know,
I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I think it was 2nd and 1.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's a foot off the football.
You already given them the yardage to start with. You know.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, I could go on.
we need an answer, please, sir.
Well, you got to play 60 minutes from start to end.
Agreed.
And I think sometimes you can have too many good athletes, and gets away from the coaching staff and this kind of thing. So I think we'll win the ball game.
Chip?
The indefinite suspensions are still on with Florida, so they're not going to. Doesn't look like their good players are going to be back. So I think Tennessee will beat them.
All right, very good. Well, guys, it's been an excellent show.
Good show. Go Vols.
Go Vols. I would say go Titans, but we'll see. And go Columbia Central.
Don't be so hard on Ty.
Go Columbia Central against Summit on Friday night.
Thank you,
at
Eddie.
Summit is where we're going to be. So
Yes.
for
And
everybody on the crew. Oh, don't forget September 22nd, the big battle for the backyard and the Mayor's Cup. And Coke will have a tailgate from 4:30 to 6:45. We'll have the Chick-fil-A halftime show with 7 songs to be performed by the Columbia and Spring Hill bands, along with Serena Joy Crow, good friend of mine. And we're going to have a big night. So we invite everybody to come out.
Go Lions.
All right, go Lions. All right. For everybody on the show, I'm Dan James. Have a good night, everybody.
Good to see you.